Sociability is, for most people, just a mask under which they hide their banality. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that you don't really know the people you hang out with, the people you call friends. You look at them and see the same face, the same eyes, but something is different. You've realized something. What you thought you knew, you discovered, wasn't true. The little lies ended up growing into a burden. You realized that deep down, you never really knew them. What separates them from the fake people we talk about? Could it be that they always played false, or that we were naive enough to notice? Or have we been fooled ourselves? Is true friendship even possible? This is the question that Schopenhauer tries to answer. And the truth is more disturbing than we would like to admit. True friendship, if it exists at all, is rare. What is common, however, is the appearance of true friendship. What we often find are only imitations, relationships based on interests, convenience, or simple habit. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the most pessimistic and visionary philosophers of the 19th century, had an answer to these questions, and it wasn't at all flattering to society. For him, society is a stage, and friendship often becomes a mime show. Smiles, hugs, kind words, all of these may give the impression of genuine friendship, but in reality, they are just masks. The only legitimate basis for an authentic friendship is objective compassion. In other words, the ability to sincerely feel the other person's suffering without expecting anything in return. In the philosopher's view, the world is a place of pain and misfortune. We all suffer, and true friendship arises when we meet someone who not only recognizes our pain, but feels it as if it were their own. This kind of connection is rare because it requires us to be able to step out of our own selfishness and put ourselves in the other person's shoes in a genuine way. The word objective here denotes disinterest. A good friend is totally altruistic and identifies completely with their friend, so much so that there isn't even a trace of a selfish motive left in the friendship. But all of them who went without having very strong bonds with other people had serious existential and psychological problems, including Schopenhauer, who recognized that human beings are social animals and that extreme isolation can lead to suffering. He said that happiness depends on the balance between the need for interaction and the need for seclusion. This is why he recognized the need to create true friendships and how to recognize false friendships. Human selfishness is such a dominant force that any genuine gesture of empathy or sacrifice becomes something rare, almost mythical. Schopenhauer compares true friendship to legendary creatures such as the sea serpent. Everyone has heard of it, but few can say for sure that it really exists. In a world where self-interest guides most relationships, finding a friendship that can withstand adversity and is not tainted by opportunism seems almost impossible. The philosopher, always skeptical, recognizes that even friendships that seem sincere can contain a background of self-interest. After all, he suggests, does anyone really care about the other person without any kind of personal benefit? However, even in the face of this disillusioned view, Schopenhauer allows a little room for hope. Even if there is an ulterior motive in every friendship, this does not mean that all ties are false or empty. If there is at least a sincere remnant of compassion and mutual consideration, then that relationship can be considered true within the limitations of human nature. In a world where everything is imperfect, even a small trace of authentic feeling can elevate a friendship above superficial and fleeting relationships. On the other hand, ordinary friendships, those that dominate society, are fragile and inconsistent. They are often sustained by mere convenience or habit, and loyalty only lasts as long as it is convenient. Schopenhauer even suggests that if we had the chance to hear what our friends say about us behind our backs, we would probably never speak to them again. This observation leads us to an uncomfortable reflection. How many of our friendships would stand up to total transparency? And, more importantly, are we building relationships based on authenticity or just participating in the social game where everyone pretends more than they really feel? Then the question arises, How do you know if a friend is real or fake? There are two ways to tell. You recognize a true friend when life puts them to the test. When everything is going well, it's easy to surround yourself with people who enjoy your company, who share laughs and light moments. But what about when things get tough? What about when you face a loss, a failure, a crisis? At such times, friendship reveals itself not just in words, but in actions. A true friend is one who, even when they have nothing to gain, chooses to stay by your side. They don't need you to be at your best in order to appreciate you. On the contrary, they understand that friendship is not just about the good times, but about weathering life's storms together. If circumstances demand a great sacrifice, who will be there for you? A true friend can change plans, offer help without hesitation, or simply be there when you need them most. They don't walk away because your situation has become uncomfortable or difficult to deal with. They don't make excuses or disappear when they realize you need something more than a superficial chat. What about the others? The ones who disappear, who avoid discomfort, who only show up when it's easy. These are not friends, but only occasional companions. Over time, life shows who really cares and who was just passing through. But you don't have to wait until your life takes a turn for the worst to find out which of your friends are real. Schopenhauer proposes a simple but revealing test, a small experiment to distinguish true friends from false ones. The idea is to share with someone some bad news, a personal problem, and observe their reaction. It could be any kind of misfortune, a significant financial loss due to a failed investment, a painful fight with your partner, or even the unexpected dismissal from your job. What matters is not the problem itself, but how the other person responds to it. False friends can react in different ways. Some will seem interested, but will soon change the subject, uncomfortable with dealing with your vulnerability. Others may even feel a certain relief or hidden satisfaction because, deep down, they don't want to see you prosper any more than they do. There are also those who offer empty words, promises of help that never materialize. A true friend, on the other hand, reacts differently. They listen with genuine attention, ask questions because they really care, and, above all, show concrete support, whether it's offering advice, practical help, or simply being there. Schopenhauer's test is not infallible, but it often reveals what might otherwise take years to realize. And then, Schopenhauer advises, you need to watch his facial expressions carefully. At that moment, the expression of his features will show that his only thought is one of true and sincere sympathy for you, or else the absolute composure of his countenance, or the fleeting trace of something other than sympathy, will confirm La Rochefoucauld's well-known maxim, in the misfortunes of our best friends, we always find something we don't entirely dislike. The slightest hint of something other than sympathy reveals an ulterior motive for friendship. Schopenhauer, always skeptical of human nature, exposes an uncomfortable truth. We often feel a certain relief or even silent satisfaction in the face of our friends' difficulties. It's not that we actively wish them ill, but there is an almost instinctive tendency to compare our lives with those of others. If a friend faces a setback, it's as if, for a brief moment, our own position in the world seems a little better. The ordinary friend, the one who isn't exactly fake, but isn't really loyal either, may even try to hide this feeling, but the signs often slip through. A slightly enlightened look, an almost imperceptible smile at the corner of the mouth, a comment disguised as concern, but which carries a certain pleasure in someone else's misfortune. This phenomenon, although uncomfortable to admit, reveals a competitive aspect of human nature. Many friendships are not only based on affection and mutual support, but also on an invisible balance, where the happiness of one can sometimes seem like a threat to the other. This is an example of Schadenfreude, and Schopenhauer considered it the most perverse part of our human nature, but a part of our human nature nonetheless. And as such, we need to learn to deal with it, suppress it in ourselves, and recognize it in others so that we can avoid them. A real friend is incapable of feeling Schadenfreude towards you, but it's hard to find a friend like that. In this regard, another phrase from La Rochefoucauld comes to mind. A true friend is the greatest of all blessings, and the one we care least about acquiring. Behind his skeptical outlook and pessimistic view of human nature, Schopenhauer reveals something important. Despite all people's flaws and weaknesses, he still believes in the value of true friendship. Perhaps he sees it as a rare jewel, something so hard to find that it may seem non-existent, but all the more precious for that very reason. For Schopenhauer, genuine friendship is not based on hidden interests or a silent competition between egos. It is a rare and pure bond built on loyalty and the ability to sincerely rejoice in the other person's success without envy or ulterior motives. From this reflection, we draw a fundamental lesson. We shouldn't settle for superficial friendships, those that disappear at the first sign of difficulty. Instead, we should seek out and cultivate true relationships made up of trust, respect, and mutual support. And when we find these friendships, we need to value them because they are what make life less lonely and more meaningful. After all, in a world often marked by competition and self-interest, having someone by your side simply because of who you are is one of the greatest gifts you can receive. If you liked this content, don't forget to like it and subscribe for more content on psychology, psychoanalysis, and philosophy. See you in the next video.